All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is 5 p.m. West Coast time, 2 p.m. Hawaii time, and 8 p.m. on the East Coast. 7 p.m. for all those Central Folk time. Central Time folk is what I meant to say there. And we've got a Central Time folk already hanging out in the chatterbox. Good to see you, Darlene. And hey there, Michael Anthony Smith. Good to see you as well. All right. So we have got a Mother's Day show, not so much focused on Mother's Day, but a couple little tangents here and there that sort of go back to that Mother's Day theme. Looks like we've got our fellow friend from Spain coming in tonight. Glenn Paul, good to see you. Late night for you. You always are able to come hang out with the Statterbox crew. So very awesome. Good to see you. Looks like Rick is here too with that daily tech check. We've got a 1080p source, but we also have that fancy pants, what is it called? That fancy pants little gear. And so we can adjust as needed as your stream speed needs to be downgraded or upgrade. You can do that so you can still hang out without Twitch being too twitchy. But before we get too twitchy on Twitch, let's get this party started. Alrighty, there we have it. Let's make sure I've got everything organized, and I do not. But now I do. Background music has been queued up. Once again, as per the usual, we are listening to Lono music today. Lono of Molokai, a great sponsor of this show. All of the tunes you hear here come from that gentleman over in the middle of the water. Yes, that is the Hawaii Islands. Lots of Hawaiian Island themes with our show, and Lono is the backbone of that. So check out Lono Music on his YouTube channel. You can YouTube search Lono Music, or you can search for his username, which is Kaupe'epe'e. But on the off chance you don't know how to spell that Hawaiian word, like I said, Lono Music search will get you to his site on YouTube. And if you do want to buy some of his music, by all means, lonomusic.com is where you can find that. So, alrighty, you guys, as I mentioned before, it is Mother's Day today, and I'm assuming that most of you are done with any kind of celebrations or visitations that you may or may not have had on this very day. I myself only am a mother to the furry four-legged types, and they don't have any idea what day it is today. They didn't get me flowers, but that's okay. I'm not holding it against them. Speaking of flowers, though, did you know that Mother's Day is the most, let's see, how did they phrase it? I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. Mother's Day is the day where the most flowers are sold. Singular holiday. The only other time frame that is busier in the florist industry than Mother's Day would be the Hanukkah Christmas season. But in regards to a one-day event, Mother's Day is the winner. It is the most busy season for the flower industry, or the most prolific holiday for the flower industry, the florist industry, I guess, maybe perhaps is the right way to phrase that. But yeah, today is the day to find some flowers, because my best guess is those, today is not the day to be finding the flowers. You better have gotten those flowers a couple days ago, because if you're looking today, they might be all gone. And let's see here, Darlene, before we get chatting, have I gotten a chance to check out The Who as of yet? Yes, I checked The Who out on a stream a few streams ago, and ironically enough, I even played one of their videos. Now, I was 99% sure YouTube was going to be like, you cannot do that. And I was pretty sure that YouTube was also going to send me a message and say, yeah, how are we going to deal with this? Do you just want us to edit this out? Do you want us to mute this out? What are we going to do here? But no, YouTube didn't even notice. Twitch, on the other hand, was just like, we're going to silence this because we know that this is copyrighted music. And so I honestly can say I do not understand what robots are working for what. I mean, I was kind of under the impression that like it was sort of a database that all the monitoring robots are coming from. And so they would recognize it if it was copyrighted or not. But clearly Twitch and YouTube are on two completely different set of parameters here because YouTube, who I thought was going to be the real sticky wicket, they didn't care. But Twitch, oh yeah, they totally cared. And Michael Anthony Smith, oh my goodness. You know, I really wish that The Who didn't have the same name as The Who, but The Who that we're talking about is a Mongolian metal band that spells their name H-U, as opposed to the English band that everyone thinks we're talking about, that of course is WHO. It's not The Who, it's The Who. So, yeah, the Mongolian band, as Andre says, the Mongolian band Who. And they're actually remarkably, even though they use some crazy traditional instruments, they're very much, their sound is, for lack of a better term, traditional metal. I mean, it really is a metal band. I mean, you know, they're not using the traditional electric guitars, etc., but they still can create that sound. And so, Michael Anthony Smith, I'm glad you were able to swing by for a quick minute. I know that you've got crazy early hours on the weekdays, so thank you so much for swinging in. I hope you have a great night, and hopefully we will see you next time. So, let's see here. Andre is saying The Who got known by YouTube, so maybe they are not as uptight about it. Oh, you mean YouTube was what helped get Who known? Yeah, I have no idea. But I do know that Vanilla Coke Pepsi's in the house. Hey, Vanilla Coke Pepsi, how you doing? So I'm just curious, since Vanilla Coke Pepsi just brought this subject up again. Happy Mother's Day for all the moms here. I'm just wondering there, Vanilla Coke Pepsi, being one of the folks here who probably still sees your own mom on a relatively regular basis, I'm guessing, given that I think you might still live with her, given your age. What all y'all do for Mother's Day? I know that Mother's Day is celebrated in Canada on oh, your mom's dead? Mine too. So yeah, we didn't do nothing. All right then. There you go. That's an easy peasy one. Nothing to celebrate today. But as I was about to say, so Mother's Day is celebrated in Canada. Obviously not by Vanilla Coke Pepsi, but, and by the way, Vanilla Coke Pepsi, you said LOL afterwards, which is why I'm making light of the subject. I am sorry for your loss. It does suck to lose a mom really young. So, but as someone who is Sans mom as well, like, anyway, good. I'm joking. I'm glad that we have that little, understanding between us, as it were. So, let's see here. So, Darlene is taking a call from one of your kids. Well, she better be taking a call from one of the kids. It is Mother's Day after all. And, so basically though, speaking of Mother's Day, so Canada, as I was saying, Vanilla Coke Pepsi, for those who don't know, is from Canada. And Canada celebrates Mother's Day. United States celebrates Mother's Day on the second Sunday of May. 50 other countries also do that, but not every country does celebrate Mother's Day in May. Apparently, in Thailand, they celebrate Mother's Day on August 12th, which is the birthday of their current queen, which actually, I guess, kind of makes sense. But it did make me wonder, when they get a new queen, like, are they going to change Mother's Day to match the new queen's birthday? Right? So I don't know. So let's see here. Andre saying that only Ontarians drink milk from plastic bags. I I mean, that might be true now, but I know that when I was a kid in Canada, Vancouver, BC had milk in plastic bags. That was how my grandparents did it. And they were in Vancouver, BC. Now, Vancouver is not a province, pardon me. The province of British Columbia, where the city of Vancouver is located, might have switched over to only cartons and boxes and cartons. But I know... Are we really going to do the math? I know that like 30 plus years ago, I know that 30 plus years ago, at least, there was plastic milk bags in Vancouver, BC. Now, like I said, things might have changed. It's not like it's been a minute or anything. I mean, 35 years, that was just yesterday, right? Yeah. All right, then. So, yeah, I don't know how true that is today, in today's realm of reality, but I know at one point other provinces totally had plastic bag milk. But Vanilla Coke Pepsi, who is a huge fan of the plastic bag milk, might be better to tell me whether or not it is truly just something people in Ontario get, or if it's a countrywide thing, not just, as Rick said, a provincial thing. How provincial? Yes, yes. So let's see here. E-music. Oh, awesome. See, so to celebrate your mom who has passed, your kids continue to grow, continue to grow her roses. That is beautiful, and reminds me, actually, when I bought my, this thing I'm in, my house, when I bought my house, I actually went to my old house that I grew up in. And even though nobody was living there at the time, I went and dug up the rose that we had on our chimney. And it was on the side of the house that didn't get any sun. So the rose that I grew up with at our house, the rose bush, it really was always gangly and just never in a happy spot. It didn't thrive, shall we say. Anyway, dug it up, brought it to my house where it now has sun. And oh my goodness, it is the happiest little rose plant. And I have to tell you, it does do my heart good to know that I brought something from my old house to my new house. And I can totally appreciate why E-music, you have the connection to your mom through the roses that she used to grow. And so let's see here. E-music also saying that it's not just a Canadian thing to have bagged milk. The dairy farm here sells milk in bags. And for those who don't know, E-music does live in Wisconsin. So that is a United States. That is a United States state. So we have bagged milk in the U.S. And frankly, I have to start to wonder if bagged milk, I'm going to rue these words. Vanilla Coke Pepsi is going to hold these words against me for the rest of my life. But I have to wonder, is bagged milk superior? Because if the dairy capital of our country, Wisconsin, decided that bags were the way to go, they might be onto something. Now, Vanilla Coke Pepsi has always said bagged milk is superior, and I never wanted to believe him. E-music, you're making it hard for me not to believe Vanilla Coke Pepsi. But that's okay. That's okay. I'll live. And it looks like Vanilla Coke Pepsi is coming in with Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritime provinces seem to sell milk in bags. So I think that really it's probably just like a dairy. I mean, look at me saying stuff I don't know anything about, right? But I do wonder maybe if it's just a dairy for dairy situation, and some dairies think it's easier and better, cheaper maybe, actually, now that I think about it, to do the bagged milk situation. But I can say that even though plastic is not necessarily recyclable, it is a little bit less weight and waste space that the plastic bags are taking up. in the both for shipping purposes and waste. So there might be a couple good reasons actually for bagged milk. Vanilla Coke Pepsi, are you going to make me a believer? It sounds like I'm talking myself into being a believer. I don't know, man. That was not where I thought the show was going to go today. And here I am talking myself into bagged milk fan here. And let's see here. Rick coming in. Wisconsin turns that bagged cheese into America. That bagged milk cheese into American cheese. That's right, American cheese. And let's see here. Vanilla Coke Pepsi. They sell chocolate milk in bags. Okay, all right. Doesn't surprise me. And microplastics in the environment. Well, sure, Andre, but they're going to be microplastics due to the plastic gallon milk jugs, too. I mean, plastic is plastic. That's just, we're surrounded. Until we figure out a way to make plastic biodegradable, which then kind of defeats the purpose of plastic. I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to be a constant risk with any kind of packaging, because there's always some sort of plastic coating. Even the cardboard stuff is plastic coated. It's not coated with wax, it's coated with plastic. And so the plastic is in the cardboard milk container, the plastic is in the gallon milk jug, and the plastic is in the bag. So there you go. So there you go. And Vanilla Coke Pepsi coming in with the answer we've all been wanting to know. Does almond milk come in bags? No, almond milk comes in cartons, apparently. All right, then. And Vanilla Coke Pepsi, yes, it is usually 3 bags of milk in one package. That is correct. I think, isn't it like 3 bags to a gallon or something like that? They're a very strict, well, gallon, actually, that's not really how you guys do stuff, is it? Aren't they like... aren't the bags like 1 liter worth of milk is what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to ask. And yeah, you only need 1 milk holder. Precisely. Yes, you only need to, for those of you who aren't familiar with plastic milk bags, what are we talking about here? There's a specific pourer, container, juice container. What are they called? Pitcher. There we go. There's a specific pitcher that is made to be used with the plastic milk bag. So you like put the plastic milk jug in the pitcher, and then you like cut the corner, and then you're good to go. So there you go. And so that's what Vanilla Coke Pepsi is referring to when he says milk holder. And let's see here. Rick saying, as a kid, one of your chores was to go to the store and pick up 2 gallons of milk, the old school glass gallons. Dude, that must have been so heavy. I don't even know. I don't even know if... Hey, Chog0608, I love you too. Thanks so much for hanging out here. I am Mad Statter, and you are now part of the Statterbox crew. Right now, we're talking about milk and how milk is sold in Canada versus the United States, and then old-fashioned ways versus new-fashioned ways. Rick is telling me that he used to get the 2 gallons of milk, each in a 1-gallon container, obviously, but the 1-gallon container was a glass container. And so now where my brain is confusingly going to is, I don't know if I've ever seen a 1-gallon glass container. I mean, I know about the milk jugs, right? Yes, that was attractive, wasn't it? Here is an old-fashioned milk jug that I have, where obviously I keep my pennies, and this is from the Hygienic Dairy on Oahu, in Hawaii. This jug probably is from the 1940s, and this is the size of glass milk jug that I think of. So I'm gonna have to look up what a gallon glass jug is. And yeah, and so Rick, okay, see, all right, this was actually This is actually what where my brain kind of went when you said that story. And so Rick finishes his story with, and I thought I'd be smart, right? Because the milk is heavy, and why would you want to? I thought I'd be smart and take my bike. Yeah, I didn't make it home with two. Right, that's what I was thinking is, how fragile and easy it would be to drop that heavy 1 gallon of milk. 'Cause, I mean, a gallon of milk is already like, what, 3 pounds, 6 pounds? I mean, it's a couple pounds. And then the glass container is already probably weighs as much as that. So you've got 24 pounds of milk. And then on your bike, that's funny. That's funny. And let's see here. Chug 0608. No, I don't have a husband. You're funny. And let's see here. Oh my goodness, Andre, when you went to England in the 80s, they still delivered the milk on the doorstep, even in London. Wow, that is crazy. Now, we actually do have a dairy in Kent called the Smith Brothers Dairy. And Kent is just a couple miles from where I live. And if you were on a stream a couple weeks ago with us, you would have seen a very lovely drive through Kent. But they have a Smith Brothers Farm Dairy, and they do deliver to their customers, but it's like super expensive milk. I mean, you pay for the delivery. It's really good milk. I mean, it is really good milk. You can kind of taste the difference. I am not one to be like, oh yeah, you need to. But honestly, if you have a choice between Smith Brothers milk and other milk, and you're in this area, yeah, it's super. It's better milk. But yeah, they deliver. But that's a very unique situation, and so. E-Music, milk is also sold nearby in glass containers of half gallons. Yeah, when I was going off on the whole, I've never seen a gallon one, I realized that I might have seen a half gallon glass container for milk. The Puget Sound Co-op sells milk that is in glass containers, and then you bring the container back and they wash it and reuse it, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like those were the half-gallon containers, because those are like, they're bigger than this, and they're kind of squarish, but a gallon. And so Andre's saying a gallon is like 8 pounds. Well, that's water. A gallon of milk is 8.6 pounds. Okay, so that's 8 pounds just for what's in the glass container. And the glass container must already weigh like a quadrillion pounds, right? So, yeah, oops. So, C Honda, good to see you. We haven't gotten to your topic yet, but thanks to C Honda, we are going to be revisiting a topic that we had last week. On Wednesday. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the Niihau shells. But the chatter at this point got scattered towards milk and glass containers and all that stuff. And so I'm curious, though, Rick, I know that you probably don't want to relive this trauma, but I'm going to ask anyway. So when you went home with only one, what happened? Did you have to go back? Did you have to go back and get another, or were you forever banned from that shore? I could see it going both ways, so I'm just curious how that one ended up working for you. And let's see here. Vanilla Coke Pepsi, do you have no name company that just makes everything? Well, no, I don't think we do, if I'm interpreting your question correctly. Are you asking if we have a company called No Name, and No Name makes milk and cereal and oatmeal and maple syrup and and soup and whatever? Is that what you're saying? It's its own brand called No Name. Or Noname, I suppose, if you want to be fancy. And so, okay. So Vanilla Coke Pepsi is, and Andre's also saying, yeah, it's a market. It's bright yellow containers. I've never heard of this. And I've I have been to Canada, oddly enough. And so vanilla Coke Pepsis, we have a company called No Name, and it makes everything. Do we have a company similar? No, I don't. No, I don't think so. We just have, the generic brands in the sense of the store brand. So like at My Fred Meyer, where I go and do most of my shopping, their parent company is called Kroger. And so Kroger Brands is, if you want the cheap canned mushrooms, you get the Kroger brand. If you want the cheap vegetable oil, you get the Kroger brand. By the way, these are two things that I totally buy Kroger brand, which is why I know they make them. So, yeah, I don't think, no, I don't think we have like a singular company, that does that. It's just sort of the market label brands that every store has of their own. So let's see here. Rick saying, no worries, I never cry over spilled milk, and you couldn't get a chores that easy, but you did have to keep going, but just not with the bike. Oh, that sort of sucks, dude. That sort of sucks. So let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, Picola T, happily coming in. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. It's okay. You've got the perfect excuse for coming in late. You just got back from the beach. Picola T, why are you here? Go back to the beach. You don't need to be here. You have a beach. You have a beach in Hawaii. But no, that's not true. I don't want you to go back to the beach. I'm very glad that you're here. But seriously, why'd you leave the beach? So let's see here. And so Andre, you think that people look down on you? You think that people look down on you if you've got too many of your food is in yellow containers? I would imagine it all depends on what neighborhood you live in, because I'd be willing to bet that my neighborhood would have a lot of people with a lot of yellow containers in their grocery basket. And exactly, Rick, Picola T, the beach, you win. Yeah, exactly. She wins the day today. Okay, good reason. Too many UV rays, no good for the skin. All right. So let's see here. So Andre is continuing on. All the no-name stuff is in bright yellow with black Helvetica font. We used to, in like the 70s, we used to have a similar concept, I guess, where it was, I guess, I don't know, it was like generic. I actually don't know the company's name, but they did have, it was white labels with black letters. And so you could get the cheap beer would literally be a bottle of beer that was a white label that just said beer. And I know that that was referred to, like, when you're going, like, what brand of beer are you going to go get? I'm going to go get beer. And beer meant the white label beer with the black lettering that said beer. Now, I don't know if that was like, honestly, now this is, okay. So the family that I grew up with, the family that I grew up in, the parents that I came from, okay, we referred to the liquor store as the dairy. So just to give you context, but the only generic label anything that I honestly can think of in my past is the white label beer. And so for those of you who lived in America, like in the late 70s, early 80s, when that white label with the black font brand came out, any help? Like, do you guys know, was it one singular company? Did they have more than just beer? I mean, did they have like beans? Did they have like corn and stuff? Was it like what Vanilla Coke Pepsi is saying with the Canadian version? Their brand is called, or their company is called No Name, right? So like, did we have a No Name company in America at one point? And what was its No Name name? Anyone? Bueller? Let's see here. So Okay, so we had Generic's brand, but in Canada they have a whole store of the stuff. Well, if they've got a whole store of the stuff, then how could you not have a cart full of bright yellow stuff? I don't understand. I mean, if the store only sells the bright yellow stuff, then your cart's gonna be full of bright yellow stuff. See, right, exactly, Picola T. I don't see this is so Picola T is saying I thought it was different companies just repackaging their stuff in the generic box. I don't know, right? See, I don't know. I have honestly the only thing, just like Rick, the only thing I really remember about the generic white label products, I'm 90% sure there was more than just beer, but like Rick, all I can remember is the beer one. So, you know, I don't know. Did they have corn, or soup? I have no clue. I have literally no clue. And so yeah, exactly. Cheers, Rick. All right. Well, I've got my Red Bull instead of my beer, and I do have a pamplemousse, but right now I think I'm going to do some Red Bull. Gosh, Rick. What does that say about us? That we're beer drinkers? That we only remember the beer? But speaking of generic brands, and this is totally how chatter gets scattered here on Chatter with Statter. Have any of you ever seen... yeah, Picola T, I recall all kinds of dry goods like spaghetti and cereal stuff in generic packages. And actually, you know what? I kind of wonder if I'm remembering it wrong, because suddenly, all of a sudden, from the Department of Redundancy Department, I remember that it actually might have been navy blue font, not black font, on some of the stuff. It was like a white label with navy blue. But that's going down a path of memories that is absolutely unstable. So let's see here. Andre's saying they had soup, they had all kinds of generic stuff, but people didn't want to be associated to generic brands, so they stopped labeling them like that and just used store brand instead. Okay, that makes sense. And Rick, I'm glad you caught that. Department of Redundancy Department. Exactly. Ha. Oh, good. Good listener there. Good ear. But anyway, what I was saying about all the generic stuff. Have you ever seen the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Or maybe it was Revenge of... No, it's the second one, not the first one. I think it's Return of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It's the one with George Clooney in it. Yeah, you heard me. George Clooney. You might have heard of him. He's a well-respected actor. But before he was a well-respected actor, he was in a movie called Return of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Anyway, a whole plot point of that particular movie was that they were... the movie was... You notice for the first half of the movie, maybe... Every single food item in the movie is generic. I mean, to the point where it's just like, whoa, this is the white label with the black font, or maybe navy blue, whatever, is everywhere. And then you halfway through the movie or so, the director walks in and is like, we have to stop the movie. We have to cut the movie. And they're like, why? And they're like, we ran out of money. And so then someone was like, well, what if we do product placement? And so then after that point in the movie, everything is not generic. And there is a lot of product placement to a degree that is absolutely ridiculous. And so, quite honestly, Rick, we're going to need that one for Saturday at the cinema. I am going to write that down because this is the second time I've mentioned this movie, and a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. And honestly, I guess it's because I'm stupid, because stupid jokes fill me with giggly glee. That whole generic half of the movie versus the product placement half of the movie is one of the funniest plot points, I think, in that entire movie. And I guess I spoiler alerted it for you. Sorry, I spoilered it. But it's so flippin' goofy and so flippin' dumb. And Picola T, Wayne's World did hilarious product placement gags too. And I think it was, yes, they did. And for those of you who've seen Wayne's World, the type of product placement that they had in that movie was exactly what they ended up doing for the second half of the entire movie for the return or the revenge, the second Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the one with George Clooney. It absolutely, I mean, it is over the top, stupid. Like, you didn't just do that. You didn't just randomly have a Snickers bar floating across the screen for no other reason than a Snickers bar floating across the screen. That is so ridiculous. And it just makes me giggle. And Darlene, yes, I know I'm not stupid, but sometimes the things that I laugh at just make me go, wow, you are a simple human being. And by the way, I'm glad that you're back, that you got off the call from your kids. Glad they gave you that call. So yeah, Rick, I will try to track that one down because we have been having a couple movies that were a little, poignant, tearjerkers, heavy, however you want to frame those. And so it is time for something lighthearted and silly at Statterbox at the Cinema. But speaking of Statterbox at the Cinema, we've got the Tuskegee Airmen coming our way. I reserved a copy at my local library, and it should be coming in the next day or two. So I'm thinking next Saturday, we are going to be watching the Tuskegee Airmen, just like I had promised. And I'd like to remind you all that, that Victor Butler, who is turning 100 years old on May 21st, was part of the Tuskegee Airmen. He wasn't a flyer. He was a lowly, quote unquote, mechanic. And I say lowly with an eye roll and some air quotes because the mechanics are the backbone of any air flying force. It doesn't matter. The mechanics are probably more important than the pilots. No offense to the pilots, but this is how it goes. And so, Victor Butler, he's turning 100 years old. He was part of the Tuskegee Airmen, and he would like a birthday card if you care to send him one. And the address on the screen is where you can send it. I was also thinking I might go look and see if I can find a cute little puzzle to mail to him because he does enjoy doing puzzles. And so it did cross my mind that even though they didn't ask for gifts, they only asked for cards. You know what? He likes puzzles, so why not throw him a puzzle? And it sounds like Darlene is already one step ahead of me and one step ahead of probably most of y'all. I just sent my card out so I wouldn't forget. Good for you, Darlene. That makes me super stoked. All right, so when we show the Tuskegee Airmen, I will obviously be sharing this address again. But in the meantime, back to my face. And actually, we're not going to be back to my face for very long because I want to share with you guys something that, speaking of stupid humor and speaking of airplanes, I saw this the other day and it really made me laugh. So, let's see here. I don't know if you see what the license plate holder says, but it says, my other ride is, and it's a picture of a Boeing plane, or I think it's a Boeing plane. So I saw this. This was the first thing I noticed when I was behind this particular car the other day. And it was my other ride is a plane. And so immediately I thought to myself, oh, he must be a pilot, right? And so then the next thing I do is sort of focus out and I look at the whole back and I notice that, oh, he's also a student driver, whoever he is. So he's a pilot of a plane and just learning to drive a car. Yeah, I know it's probably his kid, but it made me giggle like nobody's business when I saw those two things together. And so when it comes to stupid stuff, That's the kind of stupid stuff that makes me giggle. So, Andre, he just likes Alaska Airlines. No, he's probably like a steward or a stewardess. I know that those aren't a flight attendant. I am so sorry for using those gendered terms from like a billion years ago. He's probably a flight attendant. Perhaps he's a pilot or a co-pilot. All I know is the idea of someone who pilots airplanes, who's just learning how to drive a car, made me laugh so hard, which is why I had to take the pictures. And oh crumb, I went and blacked out the picture or blacked out the license plate number. And I just noticed it's reflected in the hood of my car. All right, well, so much for privacy. I did attempt to not show what that license plate number was. Oops. So going backwards a little bit, thank you so much, Andre, for the 500 biddies. I was busy talking about stupid things that make me giggle. And yeah, exactly, Picola T. Mechanics are the ones who keep the planes up in the air. So as far as I think everybody's concerned, especially the people on the ground, the mechanics are the ones that we want to thank, because we want to keep the we want to keep the planes where they belong, in the air, not on the ground. Let's see here. Yeah, well, actually, okay, so Andre's saying you've heard of a woman who got her pilot's license before she could drive a car. Actually, I've heard of kids who take flying lessons. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there are actually a significant number of people who, well, maybe not significant number of people, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few people who did get their pilot's license before they got their driver's license. I am still finding great humor with that timeline, though, and that's just how that works. So, so there you go. And as Andre points out, pilot can't pilot an airplane without the airplane, and so that's another reason why mechanics are what mechanics are. The important strong chain in the link. Yeah, that's what I said. What I meant to say was the important strong link in the chain, but who's the strong chain in the link? It's not me. Yeah, okay then. So, yeah, well, it is safer flying than driving. Sure, I guess. I mean, statistics say, and, we spend a heck of a lot more time driving than we do flying, so the chances of getting into an accident when we're driving is a lot higher anyway. But, I'm sorry, still, the idea that someone who might be piloting a commercial airplane, who doesn't have his driver's license, filled me with giggles and glee. And oh, Rick, snap! Maybe they should pay them Alaskan pilots better so they wouldn't have to be a student driver trainer. I think that there's a strike actually going on with the pilots at Alaska, so that was just so on point. You didn't even know. I don't even know if you knew that or not, but yeah, actually, we've got some Alaska labor issues going on right now in the area. And so, honestly, that might have been funnier than you knew. And Pakalika 72, better to drive. Arms get tired from flapping. There you have it. Rick, you didn't know. I had a feeling you didn't actually, but you're wiser than you know. Oh, yeah. So, okay. So let's see here. I had a bunch of things that I was going to talk about, but then I forgot what I was going to talk about. So let's see here. Oh, I know. All right. So we talked about airplanes. We're talking about mechanics, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're going to talk about whales again, but only for a minute, because it's our little Mother's Day whale tribute, as it were. And I just wanted to let you guys know that Southern Resident Pod K-Pod, who has not had a baby whale in 11 years, they just found out that there's a new baby. So
News
we're going to
coming
watch
from the
this.
depths tonight as a new orca calf appears on video, shocking researchers and officials. This is K-Pod. The smallest of the bunch would be the first baby born into the pod since 2011. This video was taken off Pacific City, Oregon. The Center for Whale Research says they plan on documenting the calf during their next photographic survey so they can designate it and track its health. We're learning a lot.
Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. So I was super stoked to find out that they've got the new little baby. C Honda, no, K-Pod is not Korean. Good question though. And actually on Wednesday, I was kind of thinking of making Wednesdays like whale day, so we can talk a little bit about the whales every Wednesday. But since you are asking today, I will get into a little bit of the topic. The southern resident orcas that are in the Seattle area are a group of whales that are known as J-Pod, K-Pod, and L-Pod. I believe, although do not quote me on this, I believe that A-Pod through the letter before J, whichever letter comes before J, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay, so A-Pod through I-Pod, I believe, I'm, all right. A-Pod through I-Pod are what's known as northern resident whales. And those whales are basically found in Canadian and Alaskan waters. The southern resident whales are found in British Columbia to Washington and Oregon waters. And so they're named... They're basically, I think, named as the pods are identified. They're just literally named alphabetically, you know, like A pod. This is the first pod we've identified as this group. So A through I were the northern ones. J, K, and L are the southern. And then there's also another pod that they refer to when you start identifying. Okay, so many things. So when you're trying to identify these whales, they need to know what pod they belong to, which is why you get whales that are named, you know, like K9 or J15. And so they also have that type of designation for what's known as transient whales. Now, the transient whales are not resident whales. They're a separate species of orca. And they have a different diet. They feed on marine mammals. They don't feed on fish. They feed on seals. They feed on sea lions, things like that. The transients are identified as T. It's as though it's a T pod. And so it's like T149 and T148, et cetera, et cetera. And so K-Pod, no. K-Pod is just a pod that hangs out in the Canadian, Washington, and Oregon waters. And so, I don't know, we need more corporate sponsored orca pods. You know, that idea is disgusting and horrifying, and at the same time, kind of brilliant. I wonder if that could help with the restoration, because, like I was saying with K-Pod, they hadn't had a baby in 11 years. And unfortunately, if I remember correctly, K-Pod, the last several orca babies they've had were all male, and so their births have skewed heavily towards the male side, which means their pod is full of dudes. And unfortunately, they can't reproduce on their own. So they need to, you know, they're really, really hoping that this new orca is a female. They don't know yet. They haven't been able to ID that the baby well enough yet to decide if it's a boy or a girl. So let's see here. So all the pods got their own gang dances. I don't know about their own gang dances. I'm not so sure if they've got like a blood walk and a crip walk the way, you know, some other people do. But absolutely, they have their own dialects. They have their own languages, and they definitely know when interlopers are in their hood. This is our hood, not your hood. What you doing? And so, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly, Pakalika. It is a sausage fest pod. That is precisely it. Yeah. So on Whale Wednesdays, we're gonna get a little bit more into the details of what the pods are, who makes up the pods, etc. But very good question, C Honda. K-pod is not a Korean pod. It is from around here, and your question does make me wonder, though. Are there orcas in Korean waters? I mean, why wouldn't there be? And if they are, I might have a rabbit hole to go down. We aren't going to go down that rabbit hole today. No, we are not. But you definitely brought up a very interesting topic that I think I might have to explore. And now that C Honda brought some things up, and now that we're talking about ocean stuff, I'm going to switch gears again, and we're going to talk about Nihao shells. That's right. Nihao shells. And Andre, I do believe that that there is a orca hunt in Japan's waters, which is why I'm going. Yes, I do believe that they do hunt orca over in Japan, if I remember correctly. So that's why I'm thinking there might be orcas in Korean waters. So Pakalika 72. Someone missed a huge opportunity to call the orcas sea pandas. Absolutely, especially since they call them killer whales, and they're not even whales. I mean, if you're gonna call them something, might as well call them sea pandas, because then we already know. Well, they aren't pandas really, but people think that killer whales are actually whales, and actually they're not. So there you go. And Darlene. Darlene, don't you worry. I have done so much research on that topic. We are going to get there. Darlene's like, well, we could talk about cast iron pans and cutting boards. Yes, we can. But before we talk about cast iron pans and cutting boards, because we will get there, I do want to show you guys. We were talking about Niihau seashells the other day, and had I been thinking, I would have turned all of these vertical pictures horizontal, but I wasn't thinking, so I didn't. Anyway, these are pictures that were provided by C Honda, and she gave a little pro tip slash sneaky peek. Niihau shells obviously found off the island of Niihau, and they're only considered Niihau shells if they are found off the island of Niihau. Now, how they know, I don't know, but C Honda said that's true, that seashells, the Niihau seashells, are usually only found on Niihau, except for there are some beaches on Kauai, because Kauai is the next closest island to Niihau, and some of the shores of Kauai face Niihau. On certain beaches, you can find the same shells. And so back in the day, C Honda and her family gathered some on their own, and she shared the pictures. Now, this particular, hold on, let me see if I can hold up right there. All right, this particular picture is my favorite. Oh, God dang it. No. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to get to where I want to get. Bear with me, all y'all. So while I'm waiting for the picture that I wanted to stop at, see, Honda pointed out, before these things have to get strung, which is a whole other talent in and of itself, they have to be cleaned of all the sand and residue, and all the stuff. And here we go. That's what I wanted to stop at. So this particular one, boy, you better not move. Do you see that one in the middle that's white? Oh, it's kind of, well, you can see it here too. It's almost see-through. I mean, it really is see-through. If you look at the shadow, it is translucent. Look at how fragile, and this is another example of the shells. Look at how fragile those things are. I mean, they are, can you imagine how difficult it must be to clean them without breaking them, and then drill a tiny hole through them without breaking them. And then, as Darlene just said, they're so tiny and those necklaces are all hand sewn. Exactly, they are. I mean, how do you do that? I can't even is what it is. And so, Apokalika, you have a bunch in a vial with a pearl. Well, I can tell you this right now. The pearl is probably not worth nothing in comparison to the rest of the shells. Those shells, as eMusic has pointed out, those shells are actually the only shell that can be insured monetarily. And so all of the, whereas, and I mean, you can insure pearls, but pearls for the most part, in comparison to those Ni'ihau shells, are like a dime a dozen. I mean, you can cultivate pearls. You can't cultivate those shells, right? So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I don't know how big that pearl is. I don't know how awesome that pearl might be, but I'd be willing to bet that the shells in that little vial are probably worth more than the pearl that they're with, which is so weird. But I'd be willing to bet that that's the case. And Andre, you remember your mom collected enough puka shells to make a necklace back in the early 80s? That sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that she had the fortitude to do that. But good Lord, that's a lot of work. And let's see here. Yeah, exactly, Andre. They look like seed husks. Absolutely. Absolutely. And okay, cool. Yeah, Pakalika, if you want to show me a picture later, that'd be super awesome. In fact, anybody who has something that they would like to share with the Statterbox crew, by all means, shoot me an email. It's madstatter@gmail.com. Very easy. All one word. No uppercases, nothing. No underscores. madstatter@gmail.com. If you've got pictures, if you've got video clips, whatever it is that you might want to share with the Statterbox crew, I will be happy to give this a platform if it's appropriate, obviously. Now, word to the wise. I am not a video editor. So any video that you might send me will most likely remain untouched before I show it. So if you are used to sending video clips to people like Andy Bumatai, who say knows what he's doing with video editing and stuff, well, he's going to make you look so much better than I'm going to make you look. I'm not going to make you look nothing. I'm going to make you look exactly like you looked in the video. I'm not going to be doing anything because I can't really do much with video editing yet. I'm learning, but it ain't there yet. So just be warned, anything you send to me, it's probably going to get shown in the version that you sent to me because I'm not able to make it better yet. And so it looks like eMusic. Oh, eMusic is coming down with some awesome knowledge. Koala? I don't know how to pronounce that one. Koala Torres gives classes on making Ni'ihau shell jewelry. When you're on Oahu, see if he's doing a class. And pardon me while I write that name down so I don't forget to look that up, because that sounds like that could be fun. And let's see here, Darlene, I almost went crazy when I tried to sew little Barbie doll clothes when my kids were into that. So you can only imagine trying to sew something that tiny. Exactly. I mean, you, Darlene, of all the people, would probably be able to understand the need for magnifying glasses and tiny little elf fingers to help sew something that tiny. And let's see here. Oh, okay. See, Honda, those translucent ones are not Ni'ihau shells. Most of those tiny shells you have are not Ni'ihau. Okay, well, still, I don't care, dude. Those translucent ones were my favorite. I mean, honestly, Ni'ihau shells, great, awesome. But those translucent ones was kind of my favorite one. But okay, so just so you know, all those little, the stuff that was on a string, I believe, was the Ni'ihau shell. Some of those other ones, not so much Ni'ihau shells, but still, that's how tiny they are. And that's the kind of skill that you're gonna have to have some serious skill to be able to manipulate and work with those tiny shells. And let's see here. Darlene, yeah, I knew what you meant when you were asking about the sunshine shell. Rick was talking about how he was looking for a sunshine shell for you last time he was on Hawaii, or on Oahu, I believe. And I've never even heard of sunshine shells until then. And I went and looked it up, and oh my God, no wonder he was looking for them for you. They are so pretty. For those of you who don't know, they're these little shells that they're sort of like scallop shells, only they're very little, and they gradient from like yellow to orange to pink. And they look like a little sunrise. And gosh, dude, it was they are so pretty. I can see why you're looking for them and hoping to find them, because I'll tell you what, I was looking, once I saw what they were, I then saw some ads online, and they're selling them for like $35 an individual shell. And that's not even like with a necklace or a whatever. It's just the shell. You get to make the jewelry out of it. $35 for one little shell? That's crazy. Yeah. So, all right. So now, for the last half hour, or maybe less, who knows how long we're going to talk about this. Now we're going to scatter over to what Darlene suggested yesterday, because yesterday on Statterbox, oh, wait, hold on. We're going to go back for a second. Rick, you actually found one at the Aloha Swap Meet? Oh, fantastic. Did you mention that last stream, or did I miss that? Or did you keep that part a secret? But good. I'm glad you did find one. And so, yeah. And yeah, I guess Rick, did you pay $35 for it? Cause that's what they're going for on the mainland, apparently. And hey, eMusic, I'm not sure if I officially said hi to you. I know I've been talking to you for a while, but I'm not sure I said hi. So hi. And, yeah, exactly, Darlene. No wonder you were looking, so you didn't have to pay. Uh-huh. Okay. So now we're going to go back to what we were going back to before we went back. Follow me? Okay. So last night on Satterbox at the cinema, I was making fun of one of my friends who was afraid to use a cast iron skillet because she thought that they were too difficult to take care of. And basically, had I had the opportunity to do a Nelson haha to her, I would have, but since this was on Facebook, I didn't have my Nelson haha emote. And so, so let's see here. And oh, Rick, you didn't mention it. Okay. But 45 with the silver necklace, that I can appreciate. 35 just by itself. Are you kidding me? Whatever. So, let's see here. So anyway, the cast iron skillet conversation then warped into a wonderful suggestion by Darlene, which was, can we talk about cutting boards? And yes, Darlene, we can talk about cutting boards. In fact, I would like to, let's see here. We're going to talk about all sorts of cutting boards. Yeah, there we go. In fact, I kind of forgot that I wasn't on studio mode, so I accidentally put the cutting boards we're going to talk about on the screen, even though I didn't mean to yet. So there we have it. We have got a bunch of different types of cutting boards, and I'm wondering if anybody has any idea of what is the best or the worst cutting board to use for things and stuff. And I'm just wondering if, do you have a favorite? How are you guys doing your cutting board stuff? And the reason why I ask is I dated a guy who's literally the only cutting board that he had in his house was the breadboard that slid out from under the counter. And it kind of blew my mind because honestly, and I don't know why this is, I don't consider those cutting boards that pull out from under the counter to be cutting boards. I don't know why, but I don't use those cutting boards. So, so yeah, I'm just wondering, what's the deal? Like, do you guys enjoy your glass cutting boards? Do you guys prefer your plastic ones? Because here's the deal. All right, hold on. Okay. So Rick, microplastics, I think rule out the plastic boards. So you're not a fan of the plastic boards. Okay, cool. Understandable. I use the plastic boards right now, but they're actually like not my favorite. The only reason why I'm using them right now is because all of my wooden cutting boards are busy doing double duty for other reasons, and unfortunately, I won't get into how tiny my kitchen is, but my my wooden cutting boards have basically turned into shelves, and so so there you go. So Picola Tea, we use bamboo boards most of the time if we're cutting meat than plastic, so it can go in the dishwasher. And Andre, right, the plastic boards are easier to sanitize. And then E-Music, you enjoy your bamboo cutting boards. They've lasted a decade so far. Excellent. So you guys, apparently, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole for this. And have you guys ever heard of a rubber cutting board? Not plastic, rubber. A rubber cutting board. Apparently, these are like the kind of cutting boards that they use in Japan for the sushi chefs. They're super soft. They don't dull your knives. They sanitize. And because they're so soft, like I said, they won't dull your knives. Because exactly, quality rubber. Yeah. Now these aren't like rubber band rubber. They're like hard natural rubber. And I'm gonna go and put the silly boards on the screen again. And I will. The rubber cutting board is quite honestly like the most generic. No, they're rubber. They're not silicone. Anne, hi Anne. By the way, hadn't seen you yet. They're rubber. They are natural rubber. And they are the most generic looking thing in the world. And when it comes up on the screen, I will tell you, there you go. Do you see that beige rectangle of nothingness? That is the rubber cutting board. And they're very popular in Japan, and they're very popular in the restaurant industry because they are extremely they're extremely easy to sanitize, and they are absolutely soft on your knives. Because as Darlene's coming in, some boards can wreck your knives and make the task harder. There's bamboo, teak, birch, maple, and they can get pricey. But one good set of wooden ones, and you can't immerse in water. You wipe or do a quick wash and use mineral oil lightly once every 6 months. Precisely. Yeah. So they and they kind of do look like wood. I mean, from far away, they do look a little bit like wood, and that is one of the reasons why the sushi chefs in Japan use this particular type of cutting board, because it's very aesthetically pleasing. And not only is rubber cheap in comparison to wood, it's also more likely, like I said, easier to clean. Lots of jurisdictions, I believe Los Angeles is one, I believe New York is another, they do not allow restaurants to use wooden cutting boards. Now, wooden cutting boards are actually relatively soft on your knives, and some of them even more so than others. Because if you do cut into the board, it generally is cutting into a grain. It sort of reseals itself. But if there's any warping, if there is any deep gouges, the wood does absorb moisture and does have an opportunity to grow bacteria, which is why wooden cutting boards for food industry in a lot of cities are absolutely not allowed in the restaurants. And so Picola Tea, come to think of it, I might have seen rubber boards at a sushi bar. Yes, and so there you have it. That's what we're looking at here. Now, some of these cutting boards, let's see here. We're going to go back here. Now, this one is just a solid walnut one, or actually, I don't think it's solid. I think it's maybe 2 slabs. But this one right here is what's known as an end grain cutting board or end grain chopping block. And so that's a whole bunch of pieces that are glued vertically together. And gosh, I really wish I hadn't made a slideshow out of this. But live and learn. Anyway, the end grain pieces that are held, the little squares that are held vertically, and you create the bar, sort of a checkerboard looking, you've all seen them, the checkerboard looking cutting boards. Those are phenomenal because they are also very easy on your knife. You are going to go into the grain, and then the grain is going to basically heal itself. So it's less likely to get the bacteria if you wipe it down properly enough, and it also is less likely to screw your knives up. And so let's see here. Darlene is saying, I wonder if they like them over wood. Would also be eco-friendlier maybe than wood, a natural product. Yeah, Darlene, rubber harvesting is its own issue. So how much eco-friendlier it is, honestly, I don't know. Couldn't even begin to say. But I do believe that due to legal requirements, whether or not the sushi chef likes them better or not than the wood, it doesn't really matter. You don't get to use wood, so this is your next option. And but that is something I guess really you'd have to find a sushi chef and ask. Picola Tea, you've got reservations at a sushi bar on Tuesday. Gonna have to Spockanize what the chefs are cutting on now. There we go. And maybe, Picola Tea, you can ask the sushi chef just like, well, which do you prefer, the rubber or the wood or the whatever, Bring us back some intel. Go on reconnaissance or something there. And let's see here. Rick coming in. Amazon sold out, posts a 12 by 18 rubber cutting board for $84. Oh my God. And remember to use the Daily Pigeon Live fruitcake link. That is right. I do not use Amazon very much, so I don't have an Amazon link for my channel. So by all means, if you are going to buy anything from Amazon, go to Andy Bumatai's Daily Pigeon Live website on YouTube. He's got a little link there that'll take you to Amazon, and it will give some money to his show. Not mine, but whatever. We all love Andy here, so be sure to go and use Andy's Daily Pigeon Live fruitcake link. That is right. Hey there, Pakalika. Good to see you again. We are talking about cutting boards. Woohoo! You had to defuse a moment on Facebook. You mean Meta? No, it's still Facebook. And Rick, they say that teak wood boards have a natural antibacterial property. I've heard that about a couple different woods, but apparently New York and Los Angeles, they don't care. Like, I don't care what you say. You don't get to use any wood for industrial uses for meat cutting or anything like that. Not even meat cutting, but also, vegetable cutting, etc. So, no wood, even though to me, wood is my favorite. And you're saying you don't cut meat, poultry, or fish on wood boards. Fair enough. Now, wood boards, though, they do have a drawback that is, they absorb the moisture. They also absorb smells, though. And so, if you mince up a bunch of garlic, and then, you can clean off that wood board really, really well, but you still might end up tasting some garlic next time you chop some cheese, or God help you, chop a cake or something. Okay, so I don't usually put cake on a cutting board, so that was a really bad example, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Say you were chopping an orange. There you go. You might have a garlicky orange. So, wooden cutting boards, so aesthetically pleasing, but a little bit expensive, a little bit heavy, a little bit more difficult to care for. Other options might want to be explored. And so, Fire Guy 218032, hello to you. I am Mad Statter. You are now part of the Statterbox crew. We are sitting here talking about cutting boards. Yeah, I know. That's right. Cutting boards. And let's see here. Pakalika 72, glass is best, but dulls your knives faster, according to all of the chefs that I read about tonight or today. Glass is the absolute worst cutting surface you could possibly ever have. Not only does it dull your knives, it can actually break them. Glass is such a hard surface, it can actually damage your knife, not just dull it. And the risk of shattering is always there. They are the easiest and most solid to sterilize, but the plastic ones and a lot of other ones can be, and the rubber ones can be sterilized just as easily. And actually, the wood ones can be sterilized because you can use boiling water on your wood ones to clean them. Or, as somebody else just said, but I'm not going to tell you who until, let's see here. Somebody was mentioning, hold on. Somebody was mentioning using a bleach rinse on their cutting boards, and that is probably a good plan as well. And let's see here. Pakalika, you're saying that you have the wooden cutting boards, but we use plastic. Yeah, I think a lot of people use plastic. And Fire Guy, you said that your cutting board comes from the Louis Vuitton of cutting boards. So, Fire Guy, do tell. Do tell. I'm very curious what the Louis Vuitton of cutting boards is. And where you got rid of your grandma's old glass board. Gosh, you know, it's just, they're so heavy. And they're so flippin' heavy, and they are fragile, and they don't, they're not good for your knives. I don't know how they got to be so popular, but I swear glass cutting boards are super, super popular. And, oh, okay, gotcha, Fire Guy. Well, you know, that's probably not something that we are going to be able to find over here in the United States. So there you have it. And Darlene, I've never heard of a ceramic cutting board, and I can tell you, and then, right, okay, and Rick, Pocola PT posted, let's remember, a sharp knife is a safe knife. Exactly, which is why the glass cutting boards, according to all the chefs that I was reading, the chef opinions I was reading to get this topic vaguely researched, that was exactly what all of them were saying. The reason why one of the many reasons why they don't like the glass cutting boards is because it screws up your knife, and a dull knife is a dangerous knife. A sharp knife is a safe knife. I know, it's counterintuitive. A lot of life is counterintuitive. And let's see here. Pakalika, you love your Cutco knives. I have never met anybody who doesn't love their Cutco knives. Cutco knives are such a bizarre thing because they're kind of mocked in the sense that, like, the way they sell them is so weird and kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say shady, but, like, you know, a door-to-door salesman for knives is just, what a crummy job to have. And all of my friends who tried to do that as a kid, not as a kid, as a college student, basically, they didn't do it very, I mean, it sucked. None of my friends are good salespeople, I guess. However, they did get Cutco knives as part of, you know, as part of their job kit, and all of them, they really do. So many words that I'm trying to get out at once. If somebody comes to your door selling Cutco knives, honestly, dude, buy them. They are really good knives. Even though my friends couldn't sell any of the knives to save their lives, they still use the Cutco knives 25, 30 years later. They still work great. They're phenomenal flippin' knives. And I want to say that Darlene might have some Cutco knives. I feel like we've touched on this topic before, and I could be making this up, but seriously, everybody, like I've said, everybody I know who's actually purchased or been given Cutco knives loves them. And so let's see here. No. All right. I've got a couple things to comment on here. So, And where you use booze lock oil and board cream for your wooden boards, that is really funny because that was the oil on all of the cutting board articles and reviews and things that I was going through today. Every single one of them mentioned that particular product. I do not have booze lock oil and board cream for my wooden boards, but after all of the commentary that I read about it today, and then Anne chiming in with, oh, hey, this is what I use, I'm thinking it is a good product. And let's see here. And then Pakalika comes in, movie trivia fact. The butcher knife used in the original Halloween was a Cutco knife. The one Michael used to kill his sister as a child. Wow, I honestly didn't know that, and I'm not so sure that Rick coming in, nice product placement. Not so sure. I have to wonder, did Cutco agree to that? Does Cutco know that their knife was used in that film? Did they choose that product placement? Yeah, I don't know. That I just have to wonder. Yeah. And Andre, you bring up a good point. A person coming to my door with knives is just not going to get me to open the door. You bring up a good point, my friend. You bring up a very good point. Oh, that is so funny. And yes, Rick has been busy using the sword of no mercy today, and I am so thankful for Rick being there with that sword drawn to keep the chat safe, because sometimes we get folk in here who just aren't necessarily down with the vibe of the Chatterbox crew, and that is just not cool. We try to be cool, and if you're not cool, then you don't get to hang out with the cool kids, and that's just how that works these days. And Anne is saying with the booze oil, it's also good for wooden utensils you might have, like for a salad spoon and fork. Right, makes sense. Or like those, I don't have a wooden salad fork and spoon or whatever, but my mom used to have a big old set, the big wooden salad bowls with the little wooden salad bowls with the wooden spoon and fork. And yeah, that oil would probably be really good for all those things, in fact. So yeah, there we have it. And let's see here. Yeah, no, and Rick, exactly. We've got everybody's got a little bit of a delay when it comes to the Twitch broadcast, so take all the time you need. Just you get on them super quick. You've gotten on, you've managed to ban a couple or erase a couple chats today that I didn't see them, so it's all good. And yes, salad tongs, those are maybe what I was trying to say. Well, no, actually, that's not really what I was trying to say. I don't know if I've ever seen wooden salad tongs, but yeah, you know. And let's see here. Darlene, no way. Teak wood cutting boards are mid-range in prices, about $100 for 15 by 18. And it is stated teak wood is a natural sap oil that's supposed to be repellent to bacteria. Yeah, and actually, I've always been told that wood in and of itself is kind of, regardless of the kind of wood, it's got its own antimicrobial properties, but clearly not enough for an industrial capability, as it were. And Rick, it's the dullest sword, so you have to twist it. Oh, I like that, Rick. So, but what you're saying to Andre, who asked, was that a Cutco sword? No, it was not a Cutco sword. It was the most generic, dull, rusty knife that you could get at a thrift store. That's what kind of sword Rick is wailing right now, and that is fine with me. And where I know exactly, teak anything is expensive, says Anne. That's why I'm kind of surprised at how, I'm using this term in a very relative sense, that's why I'm surprised at how reasonable that teak cutting board costs. $100 is expensive, don't get me wrong. $100 for a cutting board, all things considered, isn't a reasonable cost. But when you compare what wooden cutting boards actually can cost, $100 is a downright bargain, especially if it was teak. And Darlene, I know that not all of them do, but when I was a kid, I was told a lot of things that are not true, and I was told that wood has its own antibacterial properties. That's what I'm talking about. But instead of talking about things that I cannot say, I'm going to say hi to the Raiders. Hey, Raiders, good to see you. Looks like we've got Terry in Scotland coming in with a party of a few. I did not count, so I'm not going to tell you. But it looks like Bozzy Gigi is here, and I'm liking that. Hey, Bozzy, good to see you. All right, let's see who else. Katie's Aura, also into house. See Honda, who's been probably doing double time over at my place and at Terry's place, also in the house. And Terry's raiding with a party of 7. There we go. That's where the details are. Super stoked to see you, Terry, and all the Raiders. Raiders. I was going to say radars, but that's not quite right. And for you guys wondering what the flying fork are we talking about? We're talking about wooden forks. We're talking about wooden spoons. We're talking about wooden cutting boards. We're talking about cutting boards. Yeah, talking about cutting boards. That's what we're talking about, honestly. And there you have it. So, and where, $100 for a cutting board? Nope. Yeah. Well, I can tell you here, let's go back here. I'm going to go, we're going to go through all of the cutting boards. This one is the glass one. We already been told no glass. Now this one is what's known as side grain, and it's a relatively good one, but we're not talking about that right now. But this one's plastic. No good. We don't like the plastic. Plastic is ooky. We've decided. That's our, we all use them, but they just aren't very good. Now this one right here actually is a plastic sugarcane hybrid. Oddly enough, they make them that's like both plastic and regular material. Now here is our wooden or our rubber cutting board, because they make rubber cutting boards. But that's not what I want to look at. This is the walnut one, not what I want to look at. The one I want to look at is coming up next, I hope. This one right here. And you know how you said $100 is too much for a cutting board? That one right there is $250. $250. $250 for a cutting board. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So Anne, if your dad makes the side grain boards, then he could probably make the end grain boards as well, because it's essentially the same method, only a little different. And dude, that's like a serious, like I said, that end grain, $250. I mean, what a great little hobby for that. And Katie's Aura, you use 2 glass ones. Well, according to all of the chefs that I read about when researching this little topic, the glass ones are actually chef's least favorite cutting board surface because it dulls your knife faster than anything. And some knives are so thin metalled and so thin edged, thin bladed, for lack of a better term, that they can actually chip and damage your knife. So as far as chefs are concerned, glass is just like the least friendly on your knife. And I think you probably know, chefs care about their knives more than they care about their children. Okay, that's probably not fair to say. But how about this? Chefs care about their knives as much as they care about their children. And Katie Zora, you'll have to change it then. Well, here's what I have to tell you about that. Cutting boards are expensive, so you're going to have to do whatever you feel like you can afford to do. And if you want to keep your glass cutting boards, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but I will tell you this. There's these things called rubber cutting boards, which was the first time I had heard of them today when doing this research. And most folks hadn't heard of it either. Rubber cutting boards apparently are kind of like the best of all worlds. They're soft on your knives. They've got a good grip. They're easy to sterilize. They're a little bit heavy. They're a little bit expensive, but they're not as heavy as wood. They're not as expensive as wood. They're easier to care for than wood. They're more sanitary than wood. So rubber cutting board apparently is actually the kind of cutting board we all didn't know we needed. So if you happen to find a rubber cutting board and you can afford it, then perhaps change up some of your cutting boards. But if you're good with the glass, baby doll, you stay with the glass. Just because some professional chef tells you something, honestly, I mean, does it work for you? Well, then it works for you, right? Right. There you go. But if you do notice that your knives do seem to be awfully dull, one of the reasons might be the cutting board. So if that is something that does bug you about your knives, why is it always so dull? Maybe you do want to change out your cutting board. So let's see here. I missed a whole bunch of things because I'm busy talking about rubber cutting boards. And let's see here. Oh, looks like Andre threw down some biddies. Thank you so much, Andre. And let's see here. It looks like Bozzy GG just found Terry in Scotland a little bit ago. Fantastic, Bozzy. I don't know how. It looks like you maybe only hung out with Terry for about 20 minutes. But seriously, dude, you found a great guy. Terry is so much fun. Why am I telling you? You already know. Riding around that party bus and all over Europe has got to be the cheapest way and the most fun way to travel around. And you don't even have to leave your house. And where, oh my God, once I bend the point of one of those knives of it. All right, sorry. I just finished reading what she said and my heart skipped a beat. Oh my God, says Anne, I once bent the point of one of the knives of a chef boyfriend long ago. I was surprised the relationship survived the knife incident. That's exactly it. That's how chefs feel about their knives. And Kenny from the Cove, good to see you. Yes, you can. So Kenny says you can actually get a rubber cutting board. See, Kenny already knew about this. Kenny, where have you been? We've been talking about, nobody else knew about rubber cutting boards. Kenny's coming in. You can actually get a rubber cutting board that's self-healing. That is correct. Yeah, it will basically close up any kind of gouge that you put into it. So bacteria and moisture and bacteria can't accumulate and fester. I've got a cutting board. Well, it's not a cutting board. It's a craft mat that is also self-healing. And I have to say, they are wonderful, wonderful things. So, yeah. Oh, good. And you had to buy them. You had to go and buy them a duplicate knife. Yeah, exactly. That's the price you pay, my darling. That's the price you pay. So, and let's see here. Rick says, I've learned that the secret to having a great knife is to keep it out of the garbage disposer. That's true. Knives are not meant to be used as tools, no matter how tempting it is to use one to fish something out in that thing you don't want to stick your hand in. And I can only assume there's a good story behind that lesson. Behind that lesson, Rick. Yeah, exactly. Garbage disposals are the destroyers of many, many things. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. This chatter scatter day went in all directions, and I'm so happy that we could hang out and talk about these things. So, if you want to talk more about cutting boards next Chatter Statter, we're going to be here on Wednesday, and we sometimes do revisit topics. So by all means, if you've got yourself a knife story, Rick, I'm looking in your direction, that you want to share, if you've got a cutting board story that you want to share, if you've got a whatever, just come on over. 5 p.m. West Coast time, 2 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 p.m. for those Central folk time. Yep, that's how I say it these days. Central folk time. I mean Central time folk, just like I meant it last time I said it the wrong way. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. On Wednesday, we'll be here talking about stuff, and maybe we'll talk about this again, or maybe not. And so that's how that works. And I'm 90% sure that this coming Saturday, we're going to be watching the Tuskegee Airmen, and we'll talk a little bit about that on Wednesday. But before we bounce, I want to see what Bozzy has to say. Terry drives just like me. My chat calls me professional wall driver all the time. And you just blame chat because of a lot of idiots that make you crash 24/7. Bozzy, I might have to go follow you, because if you and Terry are the same kind of drivers and you go up the wall, that's where the best fun is. Yes, that's right. All right, guys. So Terry in Scotland, Bozzy GG. If you want to go on crazy rides, it sounds like those are your guys. All right, guys. So, Kenny from the Cove, your eye is getting fixed on Wednesday. Stupid retina. That is true. Stupid retina, but awesome that you're getting it fixed. And e-music. Oh my God. E-music. Okay, you guys. I cannot believe I'm so... e-music. We're going long, you guys, because we're going to talk about this. So, e-music just pointed out there is a movie called Waterman on Tuesday. PBS. I do not have the details off the top of my head because I did not write them down. But Tuesday, PBS, movie called Waterman. Waterman is actually right now being shown in the theaters. It is a movie about Duke, Surfer Duke, whose last name escapes me, so I'm not going to mispronounce it because I don't have it written down. But I'm going to try to post information about this particular movie when I repost this stream on both on Twitch and on YouTube. I will put a link to where you can watch this movie online. And perhaps if I can figure out how to do it, I might actually do a live stream while we watch the movie so we can watch it together, sort of like a Statterbox at the cinema thing. E-music, thank you so much. I have it written down, but it's in a different part of my notebook, and those pages have been flipped over, which is why I forgot. So, until then, I want to thank Andre for all the biddies. I want to thank everybody who gave biddies and gave subs and gave everything. I want to thank Terry for the raid. I want to thank Bozzy GG for coming in and chitter-chattering everything. And there we go. Thank you, Pacola T. Kahana Moku. Duke Kahana Moku is what the movie Waterman is about. And so we are hopefully going to watch it together. But if we can't watch it together, we will watch it separately together. There we have it. Separate but together. That's how we're going to watch the movie. So, see you on Wednesday. Hope to see you maybe even on Tuesday, but Wednesday for certain. Alrighty then. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, even though we went long today. I think this might be wrapping it up this time. All right. Catch you on Wednesday, maybe on Tuesday. Take care.